Would you share your mobile phone with somebody, open and unlocked? Well, why are you doing it in a car?
Yeah.
It's your responsibility, either as the owner or the handler of that vehicle.
What's the weirdest thing you've cooked?
What we do is we provide a very reliable, coded, information process to remove that data effectively out of vehicle.
We were given a pack by somebody and they had the previous owner's name. There was a letter in it with the name and address on it.
I set my mission, about 8-9 years ago, I would cycle more miles in a year than I drive.
What else are you kind of reliant on in your technical world?
We're seeing some things that are radically going to change the industry, not only automotive, but the way we go and do things.
Welcome back to this week's Gear Change episode of the Drivetime podcast, the global auto tech podcast brought to you by Keyloop. I'm joined again by Martin Wilson at Privacy for Cars. We're going to dive into some myth busting around data and also how you can cycle up a big mountain in Italy. Martin Wilson, thank you so much for staying with me for the Gear Change episode. We're diving into all things to do with data. And I think what was really exciting, stroke scary, is just how much data is being captured about us as drivers in our vehicles. Just wanted to sum up. Obviously, you work with Privacy for Cars. And if you didn't catch the main episode, please go back and listen to it because it was incredible and also terrifying. What is it that sum up what it is you're working on? And then we want to kind of get into some myth busting around data, how much is being captured and what we can do about it.
Yeah, the core focus at Privacy Cars is supporting the industry. One is awareness around the data, and then how they can manage it and deal with it.
Yeah,
and that's the simple lowdown. It's easy to handle. It's easy to do it. The right thing to do is delete data from a vehicle. A vehicle should not change hands with somebody's data in it and go to a new user.
Yeah,
that's the thing, and that's the law. It's not an ideal. It's a legal requirement to manage data of drivers and customers of vehicles.
And the application that we talked about in the main episode was if you've connected your phone in any way via Bluetooth, via a cable, via CarPlay, whether it's Android or Apple, the data that is encrypted on your phone is going into your vehicle and is unencrypted in your vehicle. It doesn't need a Face ID or a fingerprint to get to that data. You just put the key in and it's there.
Yeah, totally. It's like it's almost a carbon copy of your mobile phone.
Yeah,
but it takes in there. Anybody getting into that vehicle now can see it. So imagine, would you share your mobile phone with somebody, open and unlocked? Well, why are you doing it in a car?
Yeah. So it's not just like your navigation and where you've been for the last 3 or 4 trips. It could take in everything. So whether you've got your Spotify account, your Google account, all of that could be sort of shared with that vehicle. So just in terms of myth busting around data, because we spent a lot of time talking about data regulation, data capture, GDPR, data ownership, also how much of your data is being monitored and tracked through the infotainment system and the cameras in the vehicles. So just in terms of myth busting, I suppose you get into your car, you close the door, you think you're in a private little bubble of your own. Not the case, really, is it?
No, not at all. Modern cars today have so many sensors in them. Not only where it's going, how is it being driven, the speed, everything. It's photographing you. There's a lot of information that's being gathered by that car, and it's ultimately linked personally through devices, and information that may sit in those devices could be phone numbers, email addresses, etc. So it's very easy to get into a modern car now and actually set patterns of life of the individual that's driving it around the data that sits in it. It's very easy to do that, again, because it's completely unencrypted.
Yeah.
So the best thing that we say is just delete it.
Yeah. And also, it's not just at the end of the life of that vehicle, because often fleets are sometimes like you have multiple users in and out of those vehicles. And actually, so you should be really, when you get out of the vehicle, deleting whatever you've done, even if it's just been. So just for my understanding and just for the understanding of anyone listening, if you've plugged your car in, even if you're using that vehicle once, does it literally extract your CarPlay data, your kind of whatever's on your phone into the vehicle, is into the computer system of the vehicle?
Potentially, yes. Yeah. So again, we've all seen it in rental cars. We get in a car and they've typically got 4 or 5 phones already attached to them. Well, that data is sitting in that vehicle as well as everywhere it's been driven.
Yeah.
And that's very easy then to start to map that information in that vehicle and take it out.
Yeah. So fairly scary. So what are the kind of the key outtakes that you think, if anyone hasn't listened to the main episode, apart from deleting data, what are the kind of the key groups of people that should be super aware of this particular issue and how privacy for cars can kind of, like what you're doing. There were a couple of things that you said. As a consumer, you can log in with your VIN number and see what's being taken about you. And then obviously either as a remarketing company, you're doing a lot of work with leasing and rental and also remarketing. So what they should then be doing as a result of this.
It's across the board. I mean, it's everybody is handling those vehicles, either owning those vehicles or handling them. So whether it's a lease company, whether it's a finance company, whether it's a dealer, take the data out of it. The thing that I would say is the biggest myth is it's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's your responsibility. It's not the driver's responsibility to ensure the data is being removed. It's your responsibility either as the owner or the handler of that vehicle. Before it changes hands, the data is deleted.
Yeah.
And that protects companies, it protects those individuals. And it's doing the right thing for, in law and compliance.
Yeah. I think as well, there's more tech going into vehicles now. We talked about, the kind of huge amount of really kind of technically advanced, like new entrants coming in, software-defined vehicles are coming, automatic drivers vehicles are coming. So are there any other kind of innovations that are kind of coming up in this space that will automate? Obviously, you have a tool that does it and it completely cleanses it, and then you can certificate that you've done it. Can that be done over the air, or does it have to be done manually?
It's very difficult at the moment. I mean, the industry, we'll just think of the diversity of what we have today. And when infotainments or navigation systems started being put into cars, the modern cars, we're still not seeing them where you can plug something into those cars or do stuff over the air to actually remove the data. It just doesn't exist. So the way to do it now it's a manual process. The privacy car solution typically takes 90 seconds or less to be able to actually remove that data effectively out of any of the vehicles. But if we look at going back over a number of years and the vehicles that are coming into remarketing, into resale, into forecourts, into supermarkets, you've got older vehicles. You've got different manufacturers, you've got different models, you've got different hardware that sits in there, you've got different firmware, you've got different software, huge variation and difference in the way to delete the processes to delete those data out of there. So, what we do is we provide a very reliable, coded, information process to remove that data effectively out of vehicle.
Yeah.
Again, another myth that it just doesn't stack up is rely on a human to do it for you. They haven't got the expertise to go off and deal with the huge variation that exists in the industry today. And so, you need to bring reliable and auditable processes into businesses to be able to demonstrate that you're doing what is only a value-added component for customers, but also complying.
So you say auditable. So if someone's going to follow the process that you have, so you can see that you can actually audit and verify that car has been wiped.
Absolutely, yeah. We provide a certificate which is time and date stamped at the end of that process, so we know who's done it, when it was done, and that is then digitally recorded. And could be passed on as part of the pack when you go and resell a car. So a customer buying it has got the confidence they're actually getting a clean car to them.
So I've actually had, when I bought a used car before, we were given a pack by somebody, and they had the previous owner's name. There was a letter in it with the name and address on it, and you're like, I don't want to know that Bob Smith lived at 5 Happy Lane, whatever. I'm making up an address, obviously. But so they didn't redact any of it. But actually, you could then just put, here's your pack. It was cleansed on this date, this date, this date, this date. And we've redacted all of the other information. You should do that anyway. You don't need to give me your home address because that's where you had the vehicle registered. That's surely breach, isn't it? Data breach. You've given me someone else's address.
Totally. And that's a more basic example, but if it's in the car anyway. But I said, I use examples of if you're selling a car or passing a car on, you wouldn't leave the ashtray full of rubbish.
No.
Because that is not a particularly good customer experience. So why leave the dashboard full of data?
Yes. Yeah. I don't want to know the last 5 people that have in it because it does look a bit shit, doesn't it, really, if you've done that. So it's not great, not ideal that someone can see that the last 4 people and where they've put their home address or their office, or because it does say home, work, exactly. Doesn't it? It's not just an address that could be anyone's address. So okay. So signposting for the main episode, it was honestly brilliant to know, I suppose, what strategies you should have, and as a consumer, how you can also check what data is being collected about you just by putting in the VIN number on your website. You can see what's being collected, what you've consented to as well, without even really knowing about it. So I think that's another sort of fairly scary thing. Right, Martin, you work in innovation and technology, and I always ask on the Gear Change episode, what's the technology or tech tool that you can't live without? Obviously, your own product that you've kind of been developing. But apart from that, apart from privacy, what else are you kind of reliant on in your technical world?
I'm all the time around businesses. I mean, as you will be exposed to some of these, these new businesses. We're seeing some things that are radically going to change the industry, not only automotive, but the way we go and do things.
Yeah.
Some of the things we're seeing on AI, I've got my own opinions on where that should go and how it should be applied to businesses today and then potentially in the future. And so it's not really a device, but it's some of the capabilities and the innovation that we're seeing around data and digitalization. I think is quite impressive.
Yes, it is. So for you then, how do you what's your kind of thing that you would go, I use that, or I'm starting to use this, or I get excited about that?
I cook a lot, so I like gadgets in the kitchen.
Nice.
And so there's some very cool stuff that's out there that I'm not going to say, because if I say that I'm going to buy one, my wife will kill me. So,
air fryer, slow cooker.
No, it's called a Thermomix.
Oh my God, one of my friends was a complete fan of that. So if you do want to buy one, I've got someone that will happily provide you with one. I'm not a Thermomix person because I like to chop, but she made everything in it.
Yeah, well, I get in trouble at home. I'd say I do cook a lot. I've got 3 barbecues, and they're big barbecues, and so I've got a full outdoor kitchen.
Smoker, got the kind of.
I've got smoker capabilities.
Yeah,
I've got water baths. I've got dehumidifiers, dehydrators, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I've got a lot of stuff.
What's the weirdest thing you've cooked?
The most amazing flavour was candied dehydrated tomatoes. So I dehydrated some cherry tomatoes, take the skin off them, dehydrated them for about 8-9 hours and rolled them in caster sugar. And they were like a candied time bomb. It was just fantastic.
That's a random thing.
And served with that was served with a spiralized courgette spaghetti.
I love a spiralizer. And then the other question we always ask our guests, Martin, on the Gear Change episode is, what's your favourite road trip destination you've either been on or you would love to go on?
It's on a bike, though. It's not in a car.
Push bike, motorbike?
A push bike, not a motorbike.
Good.
And it's in Italy.
Okay.
I've been to the Dolomites now 3 times, and I so want to ride up Stelvio.
Is that when you have to do that? Because it's just too steep?
Yeah, it's a zigzag. Yeah, it's a zigzag, twisty road all the way up to Bormio.
Oh my God. Are you one of those guys that goes out on the bike in your Lycra on a Sunday morning, avoiding your barbecue?
Couldn't possibly comment. I set my mission, was it about 8-9 years ago, I would cycle more miles in a year than I drive. And I say I typically ride between 4,500 and 6,000 miles a year. Nice.
Do you fundraise or?
I've done a little bit of that,
yeah.
But I'm anti that because I love it.
It's weird asking people to pay for your passion, I suppose, but it's nice to do something good. Wow. So up the Dolomites, up the mountain. Okay. So when you're cycling, do you have AirPods in? Do you listen to anything, or do you just kind of
never listen
to nature?
Never.
Yeah. I
do have I don't put this on here, but I do have an interesting story because I came off a bike 3 years ago.
Right.
And it was a pothole, and I broke my neck in 2 places, and basically had a facial reconstruction, a couple of bleeds on the brain, and ended up being paralyzed down one side. And later that year, I was told I'd never use my right side again, and ended up having spinal surgery. And 3 years later, fitter now than I was when I did.
Oh my God, that's incredible. So, because you look perfectly healthy, normal.
Thank you.
You could not tell. You'd had facial reconstruction and you were paralyzed on one side. So the rehab must have been pretty significant then, getting you back to
quite involved.
Normal. Yeah.
I have a very good
full mobility.
Yeah, a very good black book of contacts to help fix you.
Wow. Well, congratulations on that recovery, because that's something else. But push bikes, you are so vulnerable. My neighbour over the road was T-boned by a motorbike while he was on his push bike turning right, and the bike didn't see him and he just got thrown down the road. Amazingly, he wasn't. I mean, he's recovered now, but it took all the skin off one of his. It was really bad injury. It took a lot for him to get back to normal. But you take for granted that you can just, he hadn't got any headphones in. He was completely aware of everything that was going on.
Yeah.
So where was the pothole? Where were you when it happened?
About 100 yards from my house.
Oh my God.
doing 8 miles an hour. But it's coming back to that. I mean, the biggest threat to cyclists today is drivers.
Yeah.
And, what is so frustrating, I don't want to turn this into a cycle component, is, the element that drivers think that cyclists are not entitled to use the road.
Yeah.
And they've got a bigger priority.
Yeah.
They say they are so vulnerable.
Yeah.
But quite often, the speeds we get up to when we're riding out, we could quite easily be going 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Bike. So we're not holding traffic
You're not
up.
holding back. No, you're not at all. So yeah.
No, but I still love it. It's a great sport, and it keeps you fit, amongst other things.
Well, I'm glad you've made that recovery, because that's impressive. And then final question is, I know you don't wear headphones on your bike, but in your car, what's your kind of road trip song or band or plays? We have a tradition on the podcast. We always add a song to the playlist. So every guest that's been on has a song on our Drivetime podcast playlist. So what can we add for you?
Specific songs. Probably one of the last bands I've seen is going to be something like Snow Patrol.
Oh, nice. Good choice. Any particular track?
I don't know.
Message me and I'll add it on. Have a thing when you get it, because I'm really bad at remembering track names. Yeah. So I'm like, I know like this band, I can't think of a track. So message me and I'll stick it on.
I will do.
So that's Snow Patrol. They've got some amazing. Didn't Leon Lewis do a cover of one of theirs? That was a Snow Patrol song, wasn't it? I'm sure it was.
I saw them in Belfast.
Did you? Nice.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that was because it was their home concert.
Yeah.
So we've got some good stuff lined up. So I always tend to get reasonable. We've got Lewis Capaldi, got the best Lewis Capaldi in the summer.
Brilliant. Really good guy.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see him.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we treat the family well.
Good. Well, honestly, when you've had a life-changing injury like that, you just need to go, I've got to live every life. So, Martin Wilson, thank you again so much for staying with me on the Gear Change episode of the Drivetime podcast. And that was amazing. Thank you. And I'm going to go and cleanse my car.
Thanks, Jacqui.
Thanks again, Martin. That was an amazing episode. And I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to sign off with Snow Patrol. I've got to find a track for that later on. If you are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to give us a like, follow and subscribe, and you'll never miss an episode of the Drivetime podcast.